justice for all.
The prayer today is, Lord God, as the world learns more about the tragic situations in Ukraine, we are thankful to have the opportunity to pray for the people of Ukraine. Thank you for listening and hearing our prayers. We are comforted knowing that we can approach the throne of God through boldness and confidence. News reports where men and women are interviewed share how they feel the prayers from us for the Ukraine people. We thank you for all of these things, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we'll start the meeting with item number 1. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of February 1st and February 8th.
Motion. Second.
Commissioner Spiller?
Aye.
Commissioner Lynch?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes. And now we'll go into executive session on the, comment please, IT.
They're choosing to go into executive session to discuss the employment and
Did
compensation.
you do the minutes for the 8th too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Together.
okay.
So do I have a motion to go into executive session to
I'll make the
discuss the
motion.
employment and compensation of public employees?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Spiller?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon?
Aye.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
And you're taking the comments, please, for
You know it's fast.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
We will return at about 10:05.
So we'll return, there's no action at this time.
No action at this time.
Okay.
The action will be covered
In the financials, yeah.
Okay.
And now we got another request for executive session with the prosecutor for the purposes of discussing the employment and compensation of public employees.
So is there a motion to go into executive session?
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spiller?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon?
I don't see it on the agenda.
Yes.
It's not.
Came up, but it needs to be done for the financials.
Oh, okay.
Financials for the
All right, so-
prosecutor. For
So,
executive
Jim.
session.
Jim will be.
He's here.
Yeah.
You guys behave till we get back.
Again.
Oh, man.
You're still here?
Let me talk to my wife. She likes
You notice they're disappearing, they're not coming back.
You're on the clock.
Who else wants to go into executive session?
Anyone else?
Get tired?
We ate them.
All right. I have you returned at 10:44.
Yes. We're down to, no action
So
was taken in
the action,
executive session.
the action from that will be to remove the prosecutor's request that's in the financials today. That's all.
I'll give those to you.
Shall I read it, and then I can take it back and make the adjustments and bring it back in for them to sign?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will, what about court technology? The additional employee?
So we're gonna move to approve that,
Okay,
yeah.
so I will just remove the second one. I just won't discuss that then, since it's not gonna be on.
Okay, so I'm going to cross off this second one.
Yeah. Okay, today's financials include supplemental appropriations for a partial general fund carryover distribution for items that were not included in the permanent appropriations. This includes funds that will be transferred for the additional court technology employee. Among the cash transfers are a cash transfer from the general fund to the sheriff's 911 fund for a portion of their 2022 funding. Encumbrance from the commissioner's office to NB5 to cover change order number 2, which includes services related to move management to the new building. Travel from the probate court to attend the 2022 National College of Probate Judges Conference. And then and now to University Hospitals, Joga, from the sheriff's office for inmate medical expenses not previously encumbered. Among the vouchers are $65,102.75 from the Commissioner's Office to Ohio State University for the county's first quarter 2022 program support payment, and $13,795.43 from Juvenile Probate Court to various vendors, some of which are being paid by the auditor under protest due to the service dates being prior to the encumbrance date. And finally, a revenue certification from Common Pleas Court in their Court Technology Fund for additional revenues to be received in 2022.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. Discussion real quick, is the 13,795, are these new, or are these some of the old?
No, all the old ones, from my understanding, have been paid.
Okay.
These are new ones that were submitted.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Yes.
Commissioner DeWart.
Yes.
Okay, so I will take these back, make that modification, then bring it back in.
Okay.
These just don't match.
Yes, these are just the ones that you approved.
Morning, Nick.
Good morning, Nick. How are you? Thanks for sticking around.
Not a problem. Item 5 on the agenda is requesting the board approve and execute the unit price contract with Grade Line Incorporated for the replacement of the Wilson Mills Road Bridge, Chester Township, in the amount of $443,464. This was awarded by the board on February 1st.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Yes.
Commissioner DeWart.
Yes.
Item 6 on the agenda is requesting the board approve and execute the unit price contract with Roniak Paving Incorporated for the asphalt resurfacing of Aquila Road and Butternut Road in Burton and Newberry Townships in the amount of $1,034,645 even. This also was awarded by the board on February 1st.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Yes.
Commissioner DeWart.
Yes.
Item 7 on the agenda is requesting the board approve the allocation of municipal road funds in the amount of $121,000 for the asphalt resurfacing of Washington Street, sponsored by South Russell Village. The project is scheduled for construction in 2022. This is the portion of Washington Street from Chagrin Falls to the county line.
Great.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Aye.
Commissioner DeWart.
Yes.
Item 8 on the agenda is requesting the board certify to the county auditor the use of the $121,000 from the municipal road fund for the asphalt resurfacing of Washington Street in South Russell Village pursuant to ORC 4504.04.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon. Commissioner DeWart.
Yes.
Great. All right.
Hi.
He's gonna slide in
There you
the
go.
middle.
Tag in number 9. Good morning.
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 Item number 9, the engineer's office is requesting the board approve and execute resolution 22-022, order resurfacing of Washington Street, County Highway 606, sections A and B in Bainbridge Township. The resolution also requests that the board approve and execute the cover sheet and specifications for the same. And finally, further, the resolution sets the bid opening for Wednesday, March 30th, 2022 at 2 p.m. Notice of the bid opening will be advertised on March 3rd and March 10th, 2022, and on the county website.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler. Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Aye.
Commissioner DeWart.
Yes.
Item 10 on the agenda is requesting the board release the bid and performance bonds for the little projects listed on the agenda here. Projects are completed, paid out from 2021. This is just a formality to release their bonds.
So
Yep.
moved.
Second.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon.
Yes.
Commissioner DeWart.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Yep. Hey, when do you do the load limits? Is that end of March?
It's going to depend on the weather.
Weather?
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll watch the roadways, and then the highway department will,
Has it signed it yet?
they'll make the determination as to what, but usually it's the end of March, early April.
Okay, and that's just county roads?
County and all the posted county and township roads that have
Township.
been posted
Okay.
too.
Okay. All right. Good to know.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Good morning.
Morning.
Alrighty.
Department on Aging.
Department on Aging, yes. We are here requesting the board approve and authorize for our, excuse me, order form amendment from the WellSky Human and Social Services Corporation. We need to amend the original order form from June 29th. This is actually for our database system. We're adding an additional 6 licenses at the annual fee of $700 per license for a total of $4,200, plus a one-time setup fee for $350 each for the additional 6 for $2,100 total, with a grand total of $6,300. Everything else, the terms and conditions are all the same
Okay.
from the original contract.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Mr. Spudler.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too, I have to get my voice back.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Gwen.
Hey there, how are you guys?
Good,
Good.
good.
Couple of them. Number 12 is just to approve and authorize the president to execute the service agreement and business agreement between us and Joga Board of DD for transportation. It would be for January 1, 22 through December 31, 2022.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Mr. Spudler.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer.
Yes.
13 and 14 kind of go together. 13, we're requesting the board to award the contract to Mohawk for the bus Washington Washomatic. It's replacing our bus. This was a grant that we got back in 20, but then it was pushed to 21, and then it's pushed to 22 because there was no parts and pieces parts for this. But we went through Sourcewell, which is our purchasing program, so this is the lowest bid at $149,342.33. And then Merrifield Electric will actually hook that wash bay up to our existing building. So Mohawk only brings it in and installs it, and then Merrifield actually installs it to our building. So that's why we're asking for the $18,772.01 to hook up the electric to the building. All of this is reimbursed through the state at 100%. So we'll pay all of this out, but both of those amounts will come back to us at
Nice.
100%.
Good.
Okay, make that motion.
Second?
Mr. Spudler.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer.
Question.
Yes.
Was this bid out, the electric?
No, because it was under the 50,000, but we got 3 quotes on it, and they were the only ones that actually gave us a quote that was within reason, because nobody else wanted to do it. So we got 3 quotes on it, and
Okay.
nobody else wanted to do it.
Thanks. My vote yes. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning, how you doing?
Good.
The Board of DD is requesting permission to advertise for bids for the Joga DD playground replacement. They'll be held on Wednesday, April 6th at 2:30. Notice of the bid opening will be advertised on March 10th and March 17th and on the county website. This is the same project that we bought last year that we're taking back out as design build.
Very good. Okay.
Make that motion.
Second?
Mr. Spudler.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Morning, John.
Hey,
how are you?
Don. Long time no see.
Yeah, well, it's not like our every year we come out. March is DD Awareness Month,
Yeah.
and we brought some clients with us, and we'd like to have you
Thank you.
declare March DD Awareness Month, and then take some pictures with us, and you're welcome.
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
You wanna,
Come on up,
present?
Mike.
You want to sign this?
Frank, you can
Yep.
come on up.
We'll sign that real quick.
Megan?
Sign it real quick.
Make that
Bonnie, you
motion.
can come along
Second.
too if you
Mr.
like.
Spudler.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Yes.
Mr. DeBoer.
Yes.
Morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Thanks for coming in this morning.
This is Megan, this is Mike, this is
Hello.
Frank. Bonnie is
Good
our
morning.
Special Olympics recreation representative,
Nice.
and so we thought we'd all get pictures with you guys.
That'd be great.
Cool.
This year we didn't big banners and whatnot, we're just here.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, we'll get this signed.
Seems like every time you do this, though we have bad weather, this is a,
This is a good weather
kind
day.
of a,
Yeah. We'll take this day anytime.
Yep.
Guys, why don't we intersperse here?
What?
I'm gonna why don't you take that side?
Come on, Megan.
Megan can sit next, or stand next to you. I'm gonna step out.
Dave, you're not gonna come and get
oh no, Don, get in here.
Don,
Yeah.
get in here.
Yes, Don.
Oh, just come on.
To get in there.
Frank, come on, bud.
Come on up here, Frank.
Need some of that youthfulness in the.
Oh, sure, yeah, yeah, the oldest guy in the picture.
He have one of them
Oh, yeah. Here.
down here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sure.
Well, this is a good group.
That's it. This is a good group. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you, guys. All right.
Okay.
We got 16 and 17?
Yes, we are up to 17, which is executive session.
Okay.
Board of DD.
Okay.
To discuss the compensation of public employees.
We're going to executive session now.
Is there anybody that, if we did that executive section, is there anybody else that is sitting here that we could maybe?
No, the rest of you, the rest of them are all here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, everybody, that,
Chrissy, can they sign these?
oh, yeah. You wanna do that? We haven't
Yeah.
done it yet. They haven't.
We'll sign them and then we'll.
So there's initial here, 2 initials there, and then
Old men like you.
And then sign.
You can't either. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know, but. So I represent the old men. Two senior people. We're here doing our job.
Chuck is here to answer your question that you raised last week.
My younger sister was in the program.
Really? Haven't come.
They're fantastic.
Yeah, that's kind of good.
She was in the program.
Okay.
I don't know.
Nope. You're just on an initial there, initial there. And then you sign the 2 lines.
Yeah. Yeah, before we go into executive session, I'd like to have the auditor come in on. It's not on the agenda. What we passed last week.
Yeah, so I understand that there were questions last week regarding some of the invoices that were paid under the writ. I'm happy to answer those questions. You know, I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that the writ is an order for me to pay. The order is not subject to anybody else. It is a direct court order. I'm not happy that that process of the review by the commissioners was removed, but I don't have control over that. So I'm happy that there were fundamentally, I think, 5 vendors. Ron, is that right? 5 vendors subject to the writ. The writ was specific in the payment. It basically removed oversight of any judicial expenditures, and as such, you're part of that review that was removed.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll notice today you approved some invoices that we are continuing to pay. The provision under 319.16 permits me to pay those invoices under protest. If I pay under protest, my liability is surrendered and it reverts to the auditor of state. So if there's any anomaly associated with those purchases, the auditor of state is personally liable, whereas I'm no longer.
So the old contested payments, and I understand what an order is and what that means, but I was just curious, I mean, those never came through this office to begin with, right? They never got this far.
They never got past my office,
Yeah,
no.
yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
So those
I mean-
particular issues in that order were prior to the change of the Ohio Revised Code.
Mhm.
The ruling of the Supreme Court was retrospectively applied. I'm not going to comment on, that is what they did. They said the law changed, and therefore these bills that were submitted prior to the change of the law will be considered under the changed law.
So okay, so the law changed during that process
The
of
law changed after
being,
the bills,
or after
they were submitted the first time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just, I was just making thinking out loud, I guess, last week, and just curious as to, we never, we saw a lot of other bills come rolling through here, like the legal bills, and we approved all that, but the actual payments themselves, we never were a part of that process, you know.
Yeah, the problem, I mean, when the court issued the order, I told Chuck to just pay all the bills.
Right.
He had me his order too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the decision, you know, it does create a carve-out for the courts, essentially, that really eliminates oversight of those expenditures.
Mhm. But,
Now,
I mean, I guess.
you ultimately have the appropriation power, so that's a different issue.
Mhm.
But if you give the court $100,000 to spend on whatever,
Yeah.
you know, what they do within that $100,000, there's really not some of the safeguards that there would be if you gave me $100,000 in my budget and then I said, well, I want to go spend them on, you know, something that maybe wasn't a public, you know, proper public purpose. You know, Chuck could stop me, you could stop me. That there's kind of a carve out for the courts now that really prevents those safety valves. But you ultimately, you always have the power to not give us money. You know, as long as now that becomes a separate issue, you have to fund us in order for us to carry out our statutory duties. So that's always another, you know, issue. But you have to, your control now for the courts is more on the front end, not on the back end. You follow me?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it was just so new and so different, that's why we had some questions last week.
Yeah, I mean, it's new for everybody. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there'll be some more, you know, the state auditor, I'm guessing, and CCAO will probably start, you know, publishing some guidance on this, but
This doesn't just affect Joga, this affects the entire state.
Right.
So, I mean, there are concerned auditors across the state. The issue was, I believe, at the onset, the consensus of opinion was this was a local issue. And I kept arguing this is not a local issue. This is of significance that it will affect everyone. Unfortunately, the judicial did weigh in heavily. Many judges weighed in. And consequently, that pressure point was applied. You know, I think the issue is disappointing in that the taxpayers are basically dealing with two sets of standards now. The standards for everybody else, everybody sitting here has one standard, and that is check and balanced. The judicial, on the other hand, has a different standard. I was always taught it was higher, but the fact of the matter is it's lower now. Their standard is independent of the check and balance that we are experiencing. So that argument was made, that argument was discounted by the Supreme Court. As such, the judges have a different standard. I'm not happy about it, but I have to honor it, just like I tried to honor the other one. I will continue to fight for what I think is wrong and how I think the check and balances should behave. But absent of a change in the heart of the Supreme Court, the judicial has their own avenue to get things expended without oversight.
Quick question. You are submitting these then to the state auditor?
Well, the requirement is anything that I determine to be paid under protest needs to be reported to the auditor of state, reported to the submitting party, and then as a third issue, we are putting it on the internet so that the auditor of state can do a real-time investigation of it. So we currently have on the auditor site, I'm guessing there's a dozen, maybe 15 payments under protest, the ones that you've done here. And I think that's one of my duties. The thing that the Supreme Court did not restrain is public transparency. So I thought it was very much more important then that if there's no oversight of electeds and boards, then there should be oversight by the public. And there was no restriction made.
Well, that was kind of what I was getting to, and that's what I perceive our role here as commissioners is we've been elected by the public to do just that.
I totally agree with you.
And like we've been plucked out of that equation.
Exactly.
And you know, I get it.
They're still going to go. Well, now that we're done with the writ bills, though, you're still going to send them to session.
You will get them through session, but they will. It is a academic exercise.
Right. Like I feel. I
And
don't know
you
if there's
and
a
I
better
talked about
word,
this,
but
Tim.
it's like a, you know, we're somewhat of a hood ornament here.
Just so you understand, and we've had this conversation, there used to be a process called live and session. And the court had maintained that live meant you didn't get to even look at them.
Right.
regardless of that, that is not what live was created, not by law, but created by my office. Live meant the oversight was not the authority of the commissioners. So outside agencies like Joga Trumbull Solid Waste, for example, that is paid for and controlled by that board. So they're considered a live transaction, not a session transaction.
Right.
In the case of the courts, you do fund that court. You fund that court through the general fund and other means. So my belief was you should have oversight of the expenditures. The debate would have been, could you veto it? Could you stop it? And that would be a question for Jim. It is now very clear you do not have veto power, at least from this writ. And what we're going to do is we will also keep sending them through session for you to look at, but it's not going to stop payment.
Right.
But I'm also going to simultaneously post them on the internet so the public can weigh in
Right,
as well.
because obviously our ability to veto it, but I think the other purpose is for it to be digested by this board and spit out to the public, whether
I agree.
they're listening or not, but it's out there.
I agree.
Right? It's on the record.
I really don't think the public is the problem here.
Yeah,
I think the problem is much higher level than the public, and that
Right.
is the Supreme Court.
Right.
I don't think they appreciate and understand that everyone should have a check and balance.
Mhm.
Everyone should be
Exactly.
accountable because it's not our money, it's somebody else's money. That is not necessarily understood by them.
And just to be clear, Jim, if this board, and not any certain judge, but if they were to find something that was, say completely egregious, erroneous that a court was doing, now we would have to still continue to pay that bill. And
If there was an order.
But by the commission, say the commissioners didn't agree with it, and it wasn't the
If
auditor's
there's an order,
office.
the auditor can pay it under protest, but I don't think you
Well,
can stop.
what if it wasn't the auditor? What if it was the commissioners?
No, I'm saying when it goes through session, that's
Yeah.
just, the reason stuff goes through session, the main reason, you should look at all the money that we're all spending. We're all spending taxpayer dollars. You give us budgets, and we spend that money throughout the year. You should be looking at that throughout the year with the lens of, okay, because you're deciding how much money the auditor, the prosecutor, the courts get next year, right?
Right.
So, that's really the most important part of your job. So,
Right.
I think when you look at.
But like, say we were to cut a budget, the court could supersede that, right? And
There is,
order more.
that's a much broader, you have to provide, whether it's the courts or any of us, you have to provide us with the funds necessary to carry out our statutory duties.
Yeah, but let's say
There's-
you were
there's pages
building
of law books as to
roller
what that means.
coasters. Yeah, right, yeah.
So
across the state of Ohio, when an auditor pays a bill under protest, presents it through our commissioner's office, then we pass it with protest?
No. There's
just
no
pass it.
provision in the
No.
31916's change was if I'm presented with a court order, an order to pay the bill, regardless of my personal beliefs whether this is proper, then I'm obligated to pay it under protest, irregardless of your decision whether I am right or wrong. That duty is mine and mine alone.
Okay.
We have always sent those bills to the commissioners, even the live ones, although in the past it wasn't. I believed you should see those bills. I continue to believe you should see those bills. But it won't, you have no more power of veto than I do now, and mine is limited to paying it under a protest condition. My issue with that is, although it does shift the burden to the state auditor, we all know the state auditor for 9 years watched $1.9 million escape this county under theft. So do we really believe that oversight is better and brighter than here? The best form of government is closest to the people. I don't think the state has the bandwidth to detail itemize each bill, and they're not going to do that. So my worry is this is a less restrictive, less oversight procedure.
So let's just, for example, the current payments under protest. These are probably new for you too, but what's the process now? They're going down to the state, and then what?
Then they wait for the next audit period. You will not see a result of any of these for at least a year.
Huh.
It's a totally
So,
absurd.
so basically, every judge in the state of Ohio can,
Well, it's a decision by each judge. For example, I know Judge Andre was here today. Other judges, even in Joga, are not following this practice. Other judges are following standard accounting measures. So the standard accounting measures are checks and balances are built into our system, and they are honoring them. We have one judge who is not. I can't say that every judge in the state is going to say this and weigh in and say, yeah, we're going to do that because we can. They can each decide on their own whether they want to follow standard accounting practices, which I think legitimizes their purchases and makes it available to the public for scrutiny, or they can say, I'm a judge, I can do whatever I want. They each have that ability. So I can't predict how many of them will decide of no oversight, but my complaint is that availability is something that I thought was in the law already, and it's now been removed. It's been removed because our judge lobbied for that change. Let's be clear. This didn't come out of another county. This came out of Joga. Joga lobbied for that law to be changed to preclude judicial's oversight by the auditor, specifically by the auditor. It is what it is. So I think this effect will be worse as time goes on because it's a bad change to the law and it's a bad ruling, but it is what it is. You know, our objections, if you look at the payments under protest, all of the payments under protest that I can recall that you currently approved were accounting issues. They obligated the county before they opened their encumbrance. That is an accounting fault. It's a failure of an accounting measure. Adrian knows for a fact that is a hard rule, that if anybody else in the county were to do that, we would make them do a then and now, right? That's what we would make them do.
Or you'd be personally liable for the expense.
Exactly.
Right.
That is no longer true for this branch of that one branch of government. So it is what it is. And again, I don't like it because I don't know what the auditors, how are they going to audit us as a county with one set of rules for some people and another set of rules for another? I don't see how they've not done it yet. But we're not going to see this problem until a year from now when they pull these. These didn't happen until 2022. We won't be audited until 2023 on this issue.
yeah, and I have little faith in that.
I have zero faith that the auditor state is going to be more diligent in this process than we are here.
Yeah.
But, you know, and that comes at the heels of the county losing $1.9 million because of lack of oversight. It's exactly what we're trying to fix.
Right.
And what they've just done is said, well, we're going to make it even harder for you to fix it. Okay. I mean, it is what it is. You still fight, but that's the issue.
Take any questions from the public?
I have a point of clarification. I'm just reading the decision now, just for clarification. And actually, there's a paragraph that says that there was a change to 319, which you referenced.
319.16.
And so it's 396. There was an actual change that resulted from this lawsuit.
No, the other way around.
There was a change before this lawsuit?
The lawsuit was filed, and then the change to 319.16 happened, and then they applied it to the lawsuit.
Right, exactly. So, but it's the change to 319 that's the problem. Because the judge has always been a problem. I mean, judges generally, because they have some authorities that create a little conflict with the commissioner's office.
I don't know that I would pinpoint one. I think there's a bunch of things that are wrong with this ruling. One of them is 319.16's change. I'm not going to put all of the weight on just 319.16 is the issue. I think they made some other issues which I personally have a problem with. The one is they basically overruled an IRS rule for commute mileage. That's a federal law. That's not a state law. I don't know where the Supreme Court in Ohio has judicial ability to overrule a federal law, but we won't know that consequence until the feds come in and audit us on our mileage reports. And then they may say, that's a foul. And I'll say, but I have a Supreme Court opinion that says I had to pay it. And they'll say, it's still a foul. We don't care what the Ohio Supreme Court says. We're the feds.
Could
I
still
mean-
run an audit
Right.
by the IRS.
And when we get audited by them, they have the right to look at that, and somebody will be paying a fine for that condition. The Supreme Court's going to be nowhere to be found then. So there's a lot wrong with that opinion. It was done with little consideration of the circumstances and the ramifications. But it is what it is. Hate saying, but that's the fact.
You guys good?
Thanks.
Thank
All
you.
right, thanks, Chuck.
Now we'll go into executive session for compensation for the.
Motion? Second. Aye.
Yes.
This room back there?
Turn at 12:15. Any action?
No.
Okay, so now we're going to number 18.
Number 18, we did receive a letter from from McTeague, Colombo and Klinger, the attorney who was representing the Board of Elections. They were requesting that the commissioners approve a supplemental appropriation in the amount of around $135,000 so that they could install their special sprinkler system and remove the one that we're putting in. And in alternate of that would be for the commissioners to work with the Board of Elections to obtain a separate storage facility for the equipment.
Or to build one or something, right?
Or, yeah, well, in some way finding another,
yeah.
another facility for them.
And
Which
part of this is just
most
acknowledging
of
that we got this letter.
So I kind of pressed Jerry, that's the reason it's in front of you, was I got the sense that it was maybe the letter was just going to be ignored, which is fine, but I kind of feel like I wanted to put it to you guys to either approve or deny this so that we can move on. You know, just for purposes of, you know, where we're at with them, you know, before this latest request. And I kind of feel like you dealing with them, because I felt like we were at the finish line and then they moved the goalpost again, so. But just so you know, what you've spent on summary of cost impacts for the Board of Elections, and this is changes you've made. Now, remember, I'll go through the money you've spent, not to throw gasoline on the fire, but a big part of this was they wanted storage next to the garage door, which you kind of designed the whole basement based upon what they had initially expressed to you. And then you had their offices upstairs, and they said, no, we have to be on the same floor as our storage equipment. So you made all these changes, and now they're saying, oh, no, we want off-site storage. It's like, if they had said off-site storage from the beginning, you could have saved $500,000, and they could have had offices on the first floor. It's just infuriating. I'm sorry.
No,
so you've spent $671,094 on changes for them.
Wow.
That they've requested.
Wow.
$671,094 is where we're at before this latest thing. So I just need you to either approve this, disapprove it. I mean, I don't know that you have to formally vote, but at least give me your feedback, and then there's suspicion of what it is.
It sounds like, just so I'd be clear, and we've talked a little bit about it, but the attorney that which, you know, I initially was super opposed to, because I felt that part of our responsibility and part of their responsibility is to work together and figure out all these things. Well, we quickly found out we were negotiating with chaos or something, you know what I mean? Because every time we'd solve one problem, two more would arise, and it was like a game of whack-a-mole, you know, trying to figure this stuff out. So hindsight being what it is, I thought, well, and you told me too, that bringing on an attorney may be a good thing to try and smooth out some, and give them some realities and some suggestions and common sense to solve this stuff quickly, and that this is not, we're not in make-believe land. This is costing real money right now. You know, every time we move this or change that, there's hard costs that are being affected. So it sounds like the attorney that they did hire has been really good for them in a way, that he has tried to talk some common sense into them, and that he's worked well with you, right? I mean,
Yeah, I really, he's wonderful, and he's a subject matter expert in this area, which is good.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's only, sometimes just like there's only so much I can do with the three of you, there's only so much he can do with the four of them, right?
Right. But as far as the legal parameters or legal requirements from the commissioners related to the Board of Elections, you know, I don't hear anything coming back from a legal standpoint. These are more, again, you know, some wants that are arising as, you know, we're still working with them. So, you know, I think we've exhausted whatever. If we did have a budget for them, they've completely blown that up and torn it out. You know, I mean, it's, you know, so to put more on this, if this was something early on that they were requesting, like a special this or special that, it might be a little more favorable to that. But at this point, you know, we can't just keep throwing money at this. And who's to say if we do this, they're not going to come up with two more things, you know, so.
I wish they'd done this
Yeah.
2 years ago. I mean, because if you remember from the beginning of this, it was such an important component for them to have this storage area in the building next to the loading dock, you know, that, which you did, and then they insisted that they need to be on the same floor as the voting machines. Now they want them in a different location. Like I said, if they had come to you at the beginning, they could have had A1 space on the first floor, right off the lobby, and then had a separate storage facility for their voting equipment, which is what they insisted 2 years ago they didn't want.
Right.
So I don't know what to, I mean, listen, so this is what I'm recommending as a plan of action. I mean, that if you do reject this, then I'm just going to do, our office is going to do a letter to the Secretary of State. We're going to lay out everything that's happened, all the changes they've requested, all the money you've spent. We're going to invite him to come up, with either him or his representatives, to come up and tour the space. I went down there, when were you there? I went down with Jerry, and I went down, what was that, a few weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago? Yeah. You know, to check on, I mean, it's probably pretty far along now. I mean, they're starting the top down, so it's not finished out yet, but I'm going to just lay everything out to the Secretary of State. I'm going to tell them that's where they're going to be January 1st. This is not going to be supported anymore. And please come and look at this and try to get him to intercede. I mean, their options at this point are, you know, if you reject this, would be they got to move in, or they could file a lawsuit. But I don't know how great of a cause of action they're going to have, and what are they going to argue?
That would be very unfortunate to continue to, you know, waste money, and that's what I've been seeing. This has been a gigantic waste of time and money, and I don't, like, again, I'm trying to understand where they're coming from, and there's no, every time we agree to, basically we gave them a blank slate and said, just tell us what you want to change now before we get going, and it's just been a bunch of gobbledygook. You know, I don't know, you know, every time they come back with something new. You know, where does it end?
Yeah, this will be great for voters. I mean, it's more accessible. Yeah. It's modern. It's cutting edge. I mean, I won't even get into the technology aspect and the security, but it's just everything is going to be top shelf.
Yeah, it checks all the boxes with their early voting. We have the handicap drive-through voting, the mailboxes, all the stuff they requested.
You have a drive-up drop box that you put in for that you're putting in for them. You have a curbside voting handicap in the back, like you're putting in. I mean, so it's you know, it's a, again, their claim is the same as any one of us would have. If I were to, you know, if you were to, you know, stick me in some shed. And I said, hey, listen, guys, you know, you're giving me facilities where I can't exercise, you know, I can't discharge my statutory duties. That's what their claim would have to be, right? And I think if you look at, how is anybody going to look at you in a straight face and say, what you're giving them is not far superior than what they've been operating.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
So,
We've worked hard to, answer all their requests, change things, time and time again. So I'm in agreement with you to have the Secretary of State come up here.
okay. So, I mean, I don't think you can vote on it if you want. I don't know what you want them to do, but.
I mean, we received the letter, and I think we reject that request. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Commissioner Spudler?
Aye.
Commissioner Lund?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
Okay, we'll work with Jerry, we'll put together a letter to the Secretary of State, and we'll send that, you'll get copies of that, and we'll send it out and invite them to come up and assess the situation.
Yeah, we're looking forward to moving in. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy when you think with the way where they've gone with this is just so unrealistic.
Yeah, I mean, no, you can't say you didn't bend over, you bent over backwards to the tune of $671,000.
I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah, I had
just got
I
those
had
numbers
NV5 compile everything in preparation for doing this letter, and I was even surprised.
I thought it was like 3 something.
Yeah.
That was in the back of my head, around
Yeah.
3.
Yeah.
But it all adds up, especially this stage of the game. The closer the job is to be done, the more expensive it is to change anything.
The biggest cost was moving them into the basement so that they would be in the same, so they'd be adjacent to their storage building, but their storage facility, which is what they asked for, and now they want an offsite.
And now they want offsite?
Yeah. It just, but that was the biggest chunk of that $600,000.
Yeah.
So. Okay, sorry.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Yep.
We'll get working on
Perfect.
that. Sorry.
No, thank you.
Okay. 19 and 20.
The next two items, 19 and 20, deal with the One Ohio Governance Committee and with regards to the opioid settlements. And this is just to approve participation in the Region 13 governance structure and then to appoint Commissioner Dvorak as the representative member.
I'll make that motion.
So, I guess I'm not familiar with, I did see the memorandum of understanding, the MOU, I guess, but
Yeah, this is the.
what does this commit us to?
This is from the settlement
Yeah.
with the companies that went to the state.
Yeah.
What this does is there was a certain, and Jim could probably remember a little bit more of it
Yeah, I heard you
than
talk
I
about this,
do,
and I didn't
but
read it.
it was the agreement was that when there was a portion that was coming directly to each county, and then there's the regional ones, the regional groups that are gonna get funds, that then that group determines what's gonna happen within the region.
So remember we had that,
Settlement.
when we kind of approved the settlement, we said, yeah, there's gonna be this regional thing, which actually I like. I mean, it's better than the state just getting the money. So they're gonna dole it out by region. You agreed to that concept, but that was more of a conceptual, okay, this much money's gonna go to the state, this much money's gonna go to these regions, and this much money's gonna go directly to the county with some strings attached. So what you're doing now is they have formalized that structure, which is not different than that conceptual thing we talked about. We're in with, and Jim, we're in with Ashtabula, Portage, Trumbull,
Portage.
Joga. Oh, no, just Ashtabula.
4 of us.
Yeah. So it's
Lake,
Ashtabula,
Joga,
and
Portage.
Oh, that's good.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
So,
But how do we make sure we're getting ours?
well, that's what this is. So we're still getting our direct pay, but for the regions, what we're doing is each county's gonna have a representative from the commissioners, and then Ashtabula actually took the lead in this, and I like what they did. There's some letters that I'm gonna encourage you to send out. You are gonna send them out. So send them out to the townships, and then you can get, so each county's gonna have representation on this thing, and then each region will have somebody from the region be on the state one. But the money's really gonna go out to the regions. There's already kind
So
of a
those,
preconceived formula.
like, submit projects through these regions
Exactly.
or something? Yeah.
Yeah, so,
But what are the terms of this board seat? I mean, I don't know, like, Jim, how were you nominated for this?
Well,
if you approve 20.
No, but I mean, how did he, how are you being
under the
nominated?
criteria, they're looking for somebody that has personal life experience with opioids or drug abuse, alcohol abuse.
Oh,
So the other
that's the
counties-
first I'm hearing of it.
So the other counties
Yeah.
suggested that I would represent Joga County because of
Oh, so
like
did they
personal
write?
stuff, you know.
Oh, okay. So did
But
they write
Kath-
something here? Did they
They,
send
they
that?
didn't, they didn't send that here, but it was
Oh.
like verbal, like 3 months ago, like you said, Ashtabula's taking the lead on it. Kathleen, with,
Yeah, who's their commissioner?
it's Kathleen.
So what's the length of that term?
I think it's just 1 year.
Hold on, it's right,
Yeah, it should be in the,
Catherine Whittington.
yeah.
And she has,
She, when it was conceptual, because she's got some personal experience with this, and when it was conceptual, I think what she did was she took the initiative kind of informally to reach out to, I think she reached out, because she knows, obviously, we've all dealt with this, right?
Yeah.
But I think Jim has particularly, and so I know she reached out to Jim, she reached out to, who'd she reach out to in Lake County? I can't remember.
Hammercheck.
Okay, and then.
So we didn't know this,
It was just informal.
Yeah.
There was nothing,
Yeah.
and really there was, she's been really leading the way. I mean, she came up with these letters. So, and I don't know if she's got an in down in Columbus, because she seemed to know what was coming
Yeah.
type of thing.
From what I read last night, I kind of breezed through it real quick because I saw this on the agenda and I had no idea what it was, and I don't like coming to meetings not prepared or having any idea what we're talking about. But I did read it as quick as I could, but it sounded like these regions can kind of formalize how they see fit. Is that right? Like they can, there's no real structure. They can kind of come up with their own governance or something.
Well, not really. I mean, the state one is set with representatives from, there's the governor appoints people, the legislature, I think the AG has an appointment, and then each of the regions send one of their people. But you have to set up, the region has to set up a
So
governance
there's a
structure.
commissioner from each one, a mayor or something.
Yeah, so what they have.
Incorporated and non-incorporated.
Yeah, so there's 3 from each county. One of the commissioners, somebody from unincorporated, somebody from incorporated.
Okay.
So you guys need to then send out a letter to the, you need to send one out to Aquila, Middlefield, Burton, and South Russell. And you're going to need to say, hey, we need you guys to appoint one person to this. I guess the 4 of them will get together, the councils, and do it. I don't know.
Chardon
It's
be
kind of
that?
loosey. And Chardon.
Yeah, Chardon would be mixed in with the village.
And it's loosey goosey. Like how are they going to all agree?
Actually, Ashtabula, when they sent me their resolutions, they actually, when they sent their letters out, they had recommendations come back to the commissioners, and the commissioners then
Were then
appointed to
Okay.
the board. The one
Okay.
from incorporated and unincorporated, so it's going to be your choice as to who you.
So if the township association says this is the person that we'd like to,
They would
it
make
has
a
to be okay by
recommendation
the
to
commissioner.
you.
Yeah, so you'll vote.
Oh, so
on
the
it.
commissioners appoint.
Yeah. Yes.
That was one of the questions I kept asking from CCAO as to who was going to make that decision, who was going to be making that appointment.
It's hard to get answers.
And she kept pushing it off on Lisa, and Lisa's
Well, that's
like,
what I'm
I
kind
keep
of.
sending it to them.
That's what I'm kind of envisioning, or at least that was like my first thought. Is like NOACA popped in my head, and I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Yeah,
Like,
they did create
yeah.
a government bureaucracy,
Yeah.
which I'm not thrilled with.
Yeah.
But I guess,
This sounds a little more.
they're giving it local control. I mean, it's
Local
not like you guys are going to have some paid staffs and be gobbling up,
Right.
all this overhead.
And
it's
I just
gonna
want to
be-
make sure that Joga County, although, we're always kind of the small fry in the relationship, the least population, our economic index, kicks us out of a lot of different situations, and that we're getting our fair shake at this, or the new word is equity or whatever, right? So are we going to get our equitable?
Well, you will have equal representation
Yeah.
in the region.
Yeah.
So each county will have 3. So you're getting obviously an outsized influence there. Because
Okay.
we are the least popular.
Okay.
And I guess
we're fast catching up, and they're fast going down. But
And I guess the other question is this committee designed to direct where the funds are gonna go?
Yes. Yes.
Because that's a big concern when you have, you have a lot of people that have different views and perspectives on where money should go.
Mhm.
Some people are gonna say it should go to rehabilitation. Some people are gonna say it should go to this. Some people are gonna say to enforcement. Some say to prosecution. All these different things, where I can tell you that there's that's a dangerous slope to go down, because you have a lot of very soft groups out there that are making a lot of bad decisions that have proven they don't work. And you're a perfect example of that. You were here when we put that opioid, position in place. What was the common theme with drug dealers? They did not want to come into Geauga County. Why? Because you put the hammer down. Why? Because our sheriffs were arresting them constantly. And who knows to this day, Jim, how many lives did you save that you will never know by doing what you did? And when people say you can't arrest your problem, your way out of this, we proved that theory somewhat wrong that day. And you know it as well as I do that your numbers went like this, and what did the surrounding area that slept and sat on their laurels did? Their numbers went like this. And at the end of the day, this is, I'm just saying that I hope that we're going to have some kind of oversight of where these, because I really don't want to decorate, a bunch of new houses that are going to basically house people that made bad choices, because we've got those houses already built and they're called jails. And I think that we really need to focus on where that is going to go, because we're putting somebody in one of these little treatment centers or whatever thinking that we're doing the right thing, while that same drug dealer is out there contaminating your kids, my kids, and anybody else's. That we need to be focused on going after that guy to stop the risk. So that's why this is kind of a dangerous situation, because I think that you get too many opinions in this and too many soft, touchy-feelies, and then all of a sudden, where are we at? I think we're going to lose focus. And before you know it, we take this money, and guess what? It goes nowhere, because it's not something that we're going to be able to sustain and maintain. It's going to be short-lived, and it's gone.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's, as you know, there's very two different sides to this debate, and, I think that we've seen the value in the enforcement side, certainly. So I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I guess the way this thing is set up with trying to get, the original thought was, the state was just going to get all this money and dole it out, which would have been a real bad deal for us. Now again, we're still getting a huge chunk of this just direct to us, right, that you three will solely decide how to spend. So there's that portion of it. This is the other portion that's going to go into these regions. The way that it seems to be set up with this equal representation is to give each county their fair share of those distributions, but then within that, you're going to have to make sure that you have people on there that are, I'm sure every county is going to be different. I mean, It just depends. And Cuyahoga County is probably not going to spend a nickel on police for this, right?
Right.
I'm thinking maybe our county will. I don't know.
You say? Did I hear you correctly? Projects would have to be approved by the commissioners.
No, for the direct county one. Oh. So there's two pots of money.
Yeah.
And they're both large. So the one pot of money is going directly to you. There's some strings attached to that, but you're going to have complete control over that. The other pot of money is going to these
this
regions.
Yeah,
and the regions are just set up so that state money isn't dictated to us by the state.
Gotcha.
That we have some local control.
Which I like that.
It's better than But to Ralph's point, if you get
it depends. Who that's made up of.
What perspective are you going to have?
Yeah.
So you'll have control over your seats. But I think that I liked being in with Lake, Astroville, and Portage. I mean, I think that's an advantage.
I mean, if you had to pick them, that's where
Yeah, I mean, I think so, but I don't know. I mean, who do you think Portage is going to put on? I mean,
I think law enforcement should be a component in this.
Part of this MOU has a breakdown of what the allocation is to the municipalities and such.
That's the direct pay. That's not through the.
Well, they has multiple exhibits, because it has like strategies, and it has like, this is the MOU of how this is going to the regions.
Yeah, it has for the regional, yes.
Right.
Yeah, there's strings attached, but within that, the regions are going to have to decide how they spend the money, but I've always thought it's going to be more county-specific within the region.
So how soon do they need this by?
Well, I think we're a little ahead of it, because like I said, the CCAO, I mean, you were saying CCAO too, they haven't really caught up to it yet. I encourage,
Ashtabula started working on theirs at the end of last year.
I know, that spooked me a little bit, so Jim had sent me everything Ashtabula had already done, and, because they had already done their resolutions, they had already appointed their member, they had already sent out the letters to getting names from the municipalities and the
Yeah.
townships.
I-
I told Jim, I said, hey, Jim, you better get this in front of the board and get this thing going.
Right.
I just wanted to see what they did, so then we could improve upon it, because, like Jerry says, maybe all of what they did is not quite right, you know, and they have to go back to
Yeah, I mean, I still
possibly
have
CCAO.
I still got a lot of questions about it, to be honest with you.
On the statewide, the millions and millions of dollars that's coming in, 55% of it's gonna go to the state foundation, which is called One Ohio Recovery Foundation, Inc. And then there's 30% goes to local governments, which is us, and then it includes the township, villages, and cities. And then 15% goes directly to the state. I don't know if that's for administration purposes or what, but.
Right.
Yeah, so that chunk of money for the regions, I mean, they're gonna decide regionally how that money is spent. And so, yeah, the appointments are important. So, I mean, again, if you wanna take time, I try to do it in the near future if you're not gonna do it today, but I would encourage you to get one of, you know, I mean, you know, Jim's expressed interest, but that's up to you guys.
Okay.
Get one of you appointed,
I mean, I
and
think-
get these letters out and
You
get
know,
some
before
names.
we
'Cause you know how it
make
is with everything
decisions like
else.
this, like, it would be nice to have that discussion, you know, about, you know, I don't know how this all got on the agenda today, and it was risen to where we're appointing somebody without really discussing it, like, you know, it'd be nice to understand what we're doing.
Yeah, if you,
Jerry, I don't know if, like, you can chime in on that, or how, you know, how it's gotten to this level. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm okay with putting Jim on it, I'm just saying, you know, it'd be nice to understand, you know, maybe I was interested in doing it, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah, I
I
apologize
mean,
for that,
yeah.
but yeah, it was just kind of,
Yeah.
it was brought to our attention that this was going on, and that part
Okay.
of the counties were starting to form and formalize this region, which was all part of what was agreed to under the MOU.
I see.
So that's, yeah.
the only, again, I never really
I mean, you're
discussed
good with it?
I never discussed it with any of you. Jim had sent me the stuff Ashtabula was doing, and that's where I was like, kind of panicked,
Okay.
like, whoa, they're way ahead of us. We need to get moving. So that's where I told Jim to get with, you know, with you guys,
Okay.
you know, with Jerry, because you know, you gotta have it, you gotta talk about it in a meeting, but at least get it in front of you, and, you know, get one of you appointed, and then the other thing is you gotta get these letters out, because it's like everything else, like planning
Takes forever,
commission, like
yeah.
this, like, we need to get some people appointed.
Some good people, it
And,
sounds
yeah,
like,
and maybe
yeah.
you wanna recruit,
Yeah,
you know,
that's gonna be important too, yeah.
so, I mean, you could, theoretically, I don't see why you couldn't put the sheriff on there if you really wanted to,
Yeah,
he lives in Hamden. I mean, you could,
I would.
so,
Or even Scott Neas for, you know,
For
for a municipality,
Well, he
an
would-
incorporated area.
yeah, but he lives in the township. But,
Oh,
So-
I thought he lived in the city.
So you reviewed all the structure of this governance structure, and you're okay with the way it's gonna be set up, or?
yeah, it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
consistent with the thing that you've already approved, the theoretical, you know, kind of the conceptual plan.
We all
you've
have
already
an
approved.
even vote, one equal.
Yeah,
vote.
it's 3 per county is what it was in there, so. I mean, if you do anything today, just then do it next time, or do
Okay.
it soon, please.
Part of the
Okay.
issue is this is something brand new,
Yeah,
so you kind of got to get the group together to decide how they're going to run. the
sure,
It's, you know, it's a cart and a horse thing, so.
okay.
Yeah, I'd like, I don't want
I'm
to.
okay with moving forward with it, it just,
I don't want another county to hijack this thing either.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to get at least one of our people in place, and let's then start thinking of people that live in the cities and
Okay.
townships, and get some people on there.
okay.
I just
Well,
don't-
Jim, are you gonna report back to us on this, or?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Because, you know, you'll be our eyes and ears there, so we'll, you know, to keep us informed, because we, you know, up to this point, you know, so.
I don't know
Yeah,
that there's
there
been a
really
ton to
hasn't-
report
there really-
yet.
Yeah, there really hasn't been
Okay.
anything to report
Okay.
other
They
than
just
trying
had
to
their
put the
first
group
meeting
together.
on the 10th of
And all
February.
I
so
would
it's
say
not
is
like-
this, is the decision of like what the direction is, I think needs to be agreed upon as a group here.
Yes.
And not independently on this, because I think that this is something that we all need to have agree on a
A
direction.
voice, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, and I don't wanna have it so that all of a sudden, we talk about way it's, you know, as, you know, collectively as we see it, and then all of a sudden we find out that, you know, it goes to a meeting and it's totally a different message. I want that message to be delivered based on what we decide and what we talk about here.
Sure.
That's, because because if it's that, you know, I think that's critical.
Yeah, this is important money that's being coming in.
Right.
And gonna be spent on, what it's gonna be spent on the future is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys need to, not only with this money, but then that
The other
other
money
direct
too.
money,
Yeah.
and, you know, you're gonna have a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah.
And,
So I'll
you
make
know,
that
and then you're gonna
motion.
have people coming around again with their hands out.
There's two separate things. The first one is the resolution is the participation in the Region 13 Governance Board, which the Exhibit A is the agreement that's with the 4 counties. It's attached to the resolution in front of you there. And then this resolution is just to appoint Jim to that
I'll do
governance
a motion
board.
on both then.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second that.
Commissioner Spiller?
Aye.
Commissioner Lennon?
Yes.
Commissioner DeWort?
Yes.
It wasn't really my thing, but
No,
you can answer
but
any
as long as
questions.
you're reviewing it for us and making sure it's,
No, and you
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying too.
Oh,
is that
absolutely.
These things get real touchy-feely, and then all of
And
a
I-
sudden it's like,
the
Well, then
problem I,
start talking to
yeah.
people that live in the townships and the municipalities,
Yeah.
and get the right people.
my
on.
thing is, like, I refer back to NOACA, and I know what that feeling is, being in the room, of having zero control of what's happening around you. You know what I mean? That's what I
Yeah.
do not want to duplicate in something like this.
I mean, the problem with NOACA is well, there's a lot
We're-
of problems, but, you know, there's paid staff there and they're just kind of steamrolling you
Feeding
guys.
this thing, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you don't have that situation here, I mean.
Right. But, you know, when a majority of the makeup of a board is like all thinking one thing and you're not or something, you know what I mean? It's just, I mean, I guess you're SOL there anyway, but, you know, it's just,
Yeah,
you know, I
this
want
is
to make
get-
sure we're not like creating something.
One entity, one county's not gonna be able to gobble up all this money. I
Yeah.
think, you know, the thought behind this is that the money's gonna go to each of the counties, and,
Right.
and the representatives from those counties are gonna decide, but, again, that's where you need to, you
A
know.
strong voice there to. Yeah,
Well, and
get it.
somebody who has your way of thinking, too.
Yes.
So find somebody from the townships, find somebody from the municipalities that you think would be a good fit.
And it could go to groups, and just throwing this out, not as an example, but just like Lake Joga recovery. You know, where it's not one county, it's a couple counties, or it could be some new program that's out there.
Well,
for
I would
counties.
imagine, yeah, those types are gonna be doing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like to Ralph's point, I think there's like a whole nother side to this that shouldn't get ignored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, definitely. There's multiple sections of this that need to be addressed in this.
Believe me, there's a lot of parents out there that wish their child was arrested and booked for 30 or 60 days or 90 days. Because that could be the start of recovery.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a great point.
You know,
So
and
there has to be a law enforcement component in this.
yeah, I mean, the drug flow is off the charts now, right? I mean, they're just, right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, part of the problem is it's always been it's always bigger than us in that, you know, the southern border is just a joke. So, you know, what I've been seeing lately, and I get reports from, where they have these, you know, the drug seizure reports, and Ralph, you probably see those too. Meth is, what the cartels decided to do was put all the homemade meth out of business.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they're destroying our homemade meth businesses here. You know, it's in all seriousness, they're flooding the market with cheap meth. I mean, and it's insane. I mean, you find, like, it used to be like, you'd find like a user, they'd have a half a gram. I mean, we'll find these users, they have like 20 grams of meth on them. It's crazy. I mean, are you seeing that too?
oh yeah, it's bad.
And it's cheap, you know, whereas
it's
it
good.
used, like, yeah, like what was a gram of meth was like $150, and now you can get it for what?
70,
Yeah.
60.
So nobody even, you know, we used to always be on these people buying pseudoephedrine at the stores, and you have to show your driver's license and you track it.
They're not doing that.
It's not worth it because the cartels undercut all that business, and they just ship it in here so cheap and flood the market with it. So I'm actually seeing, I mean, fentanyl's still a huge issue, and that's the most deadly, but we're seeing more meth than anything right now.
That and
Like,
pressed pills, yep.
the press pills are scary as, I mean, so now they're just getting, they're either getting meth or they're getting fentanyl, and then they get these pill presses and they're pressing them into pills, and you think it's an oxy and it's really fentanyl, it'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really scary.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah, so,
That's scary.
but, yeah, so, okay, well, thanks, guys.
No, thank you, Jim.
All right.
Sorry,
Nice seeing you.
guys.
No, that's okay.
3/4 of your day.
Yeah.
Well, I want to bring up the planning commission appointments. Went through a process for accepting applications for the whole month of February, and we have 9 good candidates. I'd like to make a motion on 2 appointments, just to keep the ball moving in the direction. Dan Miller's an Amish person, and Nick Goris is an engineer. So I'd like to nominate Nick Goris and Dan Miller.
Make that motion.
I'll second that.
Commissioner Spudler.
Aye.
Commissioner Warren.
Yes.
Commissioner Whitmore.
Yes.
And we still have 1 opening left.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
I move we adjourn.
All in favor?
Any questions? Oh, is this coming up? Or no, they already had it.